Good afternoon. So today we'll discuss about paper 2, tribals and village studies. In paper 2, we'll start with chapter 2, demographic profile of India, where we study about the ethnic and linguistic classification of Indian population. So tell me why language is important. What is the significance of a language? To express ideas, not just ideas, your emotions, anything to express, right? Just for communication. Language is used just for communication. Do animals have language? Extra speech sounds are not language. Language has a structure, right? We have words and you have to arrange the words in a grammatical order. Otherwise, that doesn't make any sense. We have some rules. We have some sounds. So based on that, we call it a language. Animals don't have language. They communicate using extra speech sounds, vocal sounds and body language. Right? So why is that language important? Tell me, what is the significance of language? Language carries your culture. Language, it carries your culture. You have certain unique words in your language which are integrated in the way of your life. For example, so in English, we have the word you. You means you, ante? But we have two words in Telugu for you. What are the two words? Nuvvu, Meeru. What does that indicate? Why two words? One is informal, yes, one is formal. One indicates respect. So whenever you see some elder person or a person who is in higher status than you, then you use the respectful word Meeru. So this is what our culture says. So when you understand the language, you can understand the culture, right? And you have one word in English for father's brother and mother's brother, uncle. But you have two different words in Telugu for father's brother and mother's brother. How do you call your father's brother? Mother's brother? Right? So two different words. What does that indicate? That indicates that both are different. Both have different status. Both have different roles. Status and role are associated. Right? So this is what language carries your culture. Anything else? Language, it determines your world view, the way you think. For example, how many words do you use to call bamboo? Bamboo. Bamboo is just bamboo. Right? But there are certain cultures, tribal cultures, which use 7 different words for bamboo. Why? Because their economy is centered around bamboo. So that bamboo is very important in their culture. So they use seven different words to address a bamboo. Based on its texture, based on its color, based on its dryness, right? Based on its thickness, based on its height. 7 different words. But for us, bamboo is bamboo. Right? Because bamboo is not of much importance in our culture. But for them, bamboo is everything. Bamboo is their economic activity. Bamboo is there in their culture. Right? In their housing. So that is the reason why. So a language tells you what is important to you. Right? And language gives you an identity. How? Language gives you identity. Give me an example as how you identify yourself with the language. When you keep saying, మేము తెలుగు వాళ్ళం, మేము ఇలాగే ఉంటాం, మేము ఇవే తింటాం. So when you identify yourself with the language, you give out certain traits of that culture, of your group. Every ethnic group will have a common language. So whenever you say, I belong to this language, that means you say that we have so and so traits. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మేము తెలుగు వాళ్ళం, మేము కారం ఎక్కువ తింటాం. సో యూఆర్ ఐడెంటిఫైయింగ్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ విత్ ది లాంగ్వేజ్ and you're expressing your culture in terms of your language. So when language declines, what happens? When language declines, when language is endangered, what happens? You feel that your culture is endangered. That is a reason why we are not accepting Hindi as a national language, because we fear imposition of Hindi. When Hindi is imposed, that will result in decline of the native languages. Right? Now you understood the rationale behind why. Okay, maximum number of people are speaking, so why don't we have Hindi? That is a logic, right? But Hindi is not just, our language is not just a language, it is a culture. How can you lose a culture along with the language? You cannot. So for that, here in this chapter we will understand linguistic classifications. How many languages are spoken in India? 22? 22 languages are recognized as scheduled languages, roughly. How many languages are spoken in India? Right, according to census 2011, there are 121 major languages spoken by Indians and minor 1300 plus languages spoken by small groups. And again we have one more survey, People's Linguistic Survey of India. That survey stated that there are approximately 780 languages widely spoken in India, of which in the last decade we have lost approximately 200 languages. So some languages. Why languages are declining? Why languages are declining? What is a threat to the language? What is a threat? We also, in the next coming chapters, we also discuss the problems faced by linguistic minorities. What are the problems that are faced by linguistic minorities? Tell me, what are the problems faced by the language? Discrimination, right? Where discrimination in? Social sphere, political sphere, economic sphere, government jobs, state public services. They make the official language of the state to be compulsory. So all the linguistic minorities, they have to learn this language and they have to communicate in that language. Otherwise, they were seen as discriminatory practices. So in that, what is happening? They are neglecting their own language, and we don't have enough study material or resources in the native mother tongue, right? We don't have enough teachers teaching in the mother tongue. We have less population speaking that language. And what else? Some languages don't even have script. Some tribal languages, they don't even have script. Then how will they document that language? So this People's Linguistic Survey of India has come up with a task to identify the total number of languages spoken in India, what are the endangered languages, and they are taking steps or initiatives to protect these languages by developing a script or using the same Devanagari script for the same languages, and developing dictionaries so that the future generations will realize that such type of language also exists, as the number of people speaking these endangered languages are declining, right? So all these languages can be classified into 4 major family groups that we'll discuss in detail. And next, after linguistic classification, we go for racial classification of Indian population. What is the purpose of classifying Indian population into different races? What is a race? For reservation, we are giving reservations on the basis of races, not for reservation. Race is not a political concept. Again, గట్టిగా వినిపించట్లేదు. What is the definition of racism? Racism is a belief that one race is superior than the other race, and one's way of life or one's traits are best, or one's own culture. One race's culture is the best way of living. This is racism. Is it true? Does it have any evidence? No, it is not true. It is something which is made up. It is a sociological term. To either one group wants to dominate the other group, they will create such type of misnomers. Now tell me, what is race? Is race a myth? Is racism a myth? Racism is a myth. You cannot say that a person who is well built, who is tall, who is fair is intelligent. And that intelligent person, whatever culture he is following, that is the best culture. What is the proof? No, racism is a myth. What about race? What is a race? Race ante? How do you classify races? On the basis of physical features. By looking at the face, nose, hair, eyes, you can classify. So every race will have some common characteristics, common physical characteristics. So this is biological concept, right? But today, do we have pure races? Do we have pure races? What is race? Nothing but one type of trait found in one group. That trait is not found in the other group. That trait is unique to that group. Why it is unique to that group? Because that group is inbreeding between them. They are marrying among themselves. They are not marrying outsiders. If they marry outsiders, that trait will go to the next group. That is race. Is that happening today? Is that happening today? Do we have pure races? Do we have pure races? Generally, we don't have pure races. No, there is a racial mixing is happening. People are marrying, Americans are marrying Africans, Africans are marrying Indians. So what is happening? These traits are being distributed. There are no pure races today. So why are we classifying Indian population into different races? Why? To understand whether the people who are living in this region are natives or migrants. Heard about indigenous communities, aboriginals, tribal communities? So, the tribal communities are also here. We go for racial classification of tribals as well, separately. Suppose assume that tribals having all the elements, major elements of the Negritos. Negrito elements, what are Negrito elements? Dark skin color, right? Very dark skin color, pepper knot hair. The hair looks like pepper, right? Very thick lips, broad nose. So these are some characteristics of Negritos. And why these characteristics attain to the Negritos? Because of their environmental conditions. They are living in a tropical zone, extreme hot conditions, and the whatever biological changes happened because to adapt to the harsh environmental conditions. When you have more melanin content, that reduces your skin cancer when you are exposed to more sun. That is the reason why the skin is extremely dark in color. This is ecological anthropology. That is how, if that frequency increases, if the same traits are seen in 100 members, 100 members are living in the same climatic condition and 100 members are breeding among themselves, right? So that trait is seen in that people. So those traits are found in Indians. What does that indicate? Negrito traits, Negrito elements are found in Indian tribes, Indian, South Indian tribes like Irulas. Then what does that indicate? That means there is a point of migration. There is a point of racial mixing happened in the past. Why racial mixing happened? People are not staying at one place. People are moving from place to place in search of trade, in search of war, right? In search of marriages, cultural exchanges. Because of all these things, at some point, when they marry the natives, they transfer their traits to the natives. And that traits are expressed in the subsequent generations. So, these are not pure races. So, here, we have this debate of Aryan invasion theory. Aryans came from outside and they started living here, they're dominating here, and the people who used to live in the Gangetic Valley, they moved to the south. So that is the reason why they look dark in color. So to prove the history, whether these are the native people or they are outsiders, we go for studying racial elements in the human populations, especially in India, to understand the native tribes. What elements are more in the tribes? So tribes are not living in the heartland of India, right? They are living in the isolated areas, remote areas which are not accessible. So they are not marrying mainstream Indians. They are inbreeding among themselves. As a result, their traits remain within themselves. So to understand the influence of outsiders and to understand the amount of nativeness, we go for racial classification of Indians and also tribals. To understand to what extent they are Caucasoid, to what extent they are Mongoloid, to what extent they are Negroid. On this basis of studying the physical features of these people. Understood? So that is how we go for demographic profiling, both linguistic classification and racial classification. Understood the rationale? Understood the significance of language, why we should protect our language? Right. Now we'll get into traditional Indian social system. Indian social system traditionally tells us how to live, how to behave when you are living in a group. You cannot behave as you wish. If you want to beat someone, you cannot go and beat someone. Right? You cannot kill someone just like that. You are bound by some rules, by certain norms when you are living in a group. You have certain accepted norms of behavior, some appropriate and inappropriate behavioral standards, and you have to follow these if you want to live in a group. So what are those norms in the traditional Indian social system? We assume that the traditional Indian social system is a Hindu social order. So what are the norms that tell you to live together? What are your objectives? How you should fulfill that objectives? What are your duties? What is your dharma when you are living in a social group? Tell me. Norms in the ancient Indian society, traditional Indian society. These are the norms. So it tells you every man had 4 stages in his life, from the birth to the death. What are the 4 varnashramas, 4 ashramas, 4 stages of life? Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa. These are the 4 stages of life. At all the 4 stages, you have to follow certain norms. You have to achieve some objectives. You have to satisfy some rina. Rina means debt. In Indian social system, we believe that when you are born with certain social debts, and before your death, you have to fulfill all these debts. What are those debts? You are born with certain social debts. Before your death, you have to fulfill all these debts. What are those rina? Pitru rina, Atidhi rina, Deva rina, Rishi rina. Pitru rina means the debt you owe to your parents for giving birth to you. By giving birth to you, they expanded their lineage. That is a debt you owe to you. So you have to fulfill that debt. Atishkovali aapko before your death. How? How will you fulfill your debt to your parents? By taking care of them in their old age, by providing for them in their old age. So it is telling you what you should do. Pitru rina, Rishi rina. This is a debt you owe to your teacher for giving you knowledge, for helping you to lead a brightful life. So how will you clear this debt? Guru Dakshina. Heard about this concept? And you have to spread that knowledge given by the teacher, and also you have to give the teacher Guru Dakshina. By doing that, you will complete this debt. Next, Atidhi rina. Atidhi Devo Bhava. This is a debt you owe to the community members because you are born in a community. You treat the community members as guests. Atidhi Devo Bhava. Here the guests are God. How do you treat the God? Like that you have to treat the guest. How do you clear this Rina? By providing food, shelter, support. You have to clear this debt before your death. Next, Devarina. This is a debt you owe to the God for taking the human form. So how do you clear this Rina? పూజలు, పుణ్యక్షేత్రాలు తిరగాలి, దానాలు చేస్తే you will clear this Rina. So when you should satisfy all the Rinas? ఎప్పుడు క్లియర్ చేయాలి? When will you clear all the debts? At which stage of life? You have brahmacharya, grihastha and vanaprastha, sannyasa. In brahmacharya, what is your function? What is your duty? Dharma. What is your duty? What is your duty? Acquire knowledge, nothing else. Read books, do nothing. Right? Acquire more and more knowledge. Leave your family, go to the school, Gurukul. Go to the teacher and learn. Learning is your only profession. No love, no marriage, no job. Just learn. You need to be a celibate. Next, grihastha-ashrama. This starts when you marry. After marriage. Right? And your duty is to earn, provide for your family and procreate, reproduce children. This is the only duty in grihastha-ashrama. Right. Next, vanaprastha. Retirement. You and your wife go to forest. Leave everything. All the responsibilities, marry off all the children, give them the responsibilities, you renounce everything and go to forest and teach. Just spend your life in teaching and spreading your experience, good experience. Sannyasa. Leave your wife also. True. And start wandering from place to place. Now you don't have house, you don't have wife, nothing. Now you are preparing yourself to die and to attain moksha, to reach the God, salvation. Right? So, every stage will have a duty. So, these rinas, you have to clear these debts at which stage? Which stage? To clear these debts, you should have money. Money comes in which stage? Grihastha-ashrama. You have to clear all these rinas in this stage of life. And what is the objective of your life? Purusharthas. What are your objectives? 4 objectives. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. These are the 4 objectives. So, Dharma should be fulfilled in all the stages. You have to do your duty with dharma, righteousness in all these stages. What is your duty in brahmacharya? Only reading, studying, acquiring knowledge. That you have to do righteously. Right? You should not steal books. Right? You should not kill the teacher if he is not ready to teach you. You should do in a righteous way, right? Next, Artha. Earn money righteously. Grihastha-ashrama. Kama, sensual pleasure. Righteously. Grihastha-ashrama. And last, moksha. Sannyasa. In this stage, you have to attain moksha. So see, very clear. So what if anything is violated? What if anything is violated? That results in rebirth. When you get moksha, you are away. You escape the samsara cycle of birth and death. But if anything is violated or anything is left out, if your karma is blank or if it is unfulfilled, then you have to take a rebirth and again you have to go through this process. You are trapped in this samsara cycle of birth and death. Exactly, this is what we will study. Don't laugh. So what is the significance? What is the relevance today? Tell me. Are we following all these things? We don't even want moksha. Are we following all these things? No, we are not. Right? In brahmacharya, we are doing all these things. We are not strictly following brahmacharya, celibacy, no celibacy, except studying everything else. Grihastha starts but never ends. No one is going to forest because forests are declining. And what about sannyasa? No one is ready to die. No one is preparing themselves to die. Even in the last minute, they want to go on ventilators. Right? What is the significance of all these things in the ancient social system, in the ancient society? What is the purpose of all these things? Why? In the system, endukundali? What is the purpose? What is the rationale behind this complex social structure? Social order. To maintain social order. So at every stage, they keep telling you, if you violate anything, you will be trapped. You have to face the suffering. If you do everything strictly, then what happens? Moksha, liberation from the samsara cycle. You will unify with the God. This is what motivated people to follow the norms at that point of time. Fear of God. Right? So this is the ancient social system. This is the traditional Indian society. These are the norms in the society. So what is dharma? What is righteousness? What is dharma? What is your dharma? Who tells what is your dharma? Society is divided into small groups and every group has a dharma. Those groups are called, that group still exists today. Caste. Caste is derived from Portuguese word called casta, which means a pure breed. When Portuguese came to India, they have seen this social organization in India where small groups, these groups are hereditary groups. So whoever born in that group will get that name of that group and that group will have their own occupation. They don't have any alternative. They have to follow that occupation and they will marry among themselves. Seeing such hereditary groups, they called them as casta, which eventually turned into caste. Caste in India. Hey, tell me, what is caste or what is the origin of caste in India? How caste system originated? From parts of Brahma. So according to Rig Veda, in Rig Veda we have a Purusha Sukta hymn which says that, right, continue. From which part of Brahma who came? From mouth. It starts with mouth. So there is one divine power, Purusha, that is Brahma. So from his mouth, Brahmins originated. So mouth indicates knowledge. So what is the occupation of these people? Teachers, priesthood, right? They are the people who have to conduct rituals and they are the people who have the exclusive access to religious scriptures, right? Okay, priesthood. This is the occupation. Next part, shoulders or arms. From the arms came Kshatriyas, right? Indicates power. So what is their occupation? Protect the people, kings, rulers and warriors. Right, next. Thighs. Shudra. Who came? From thighs. Vaishyas indicates economy. So what is there? Agriculture and trade. Next. From feet, Shudras. Right. What is their occupation? Serve the other caste. Basically, they are laborers. These are varnas. What is caste? Varna and caste is same. Caste ni jati and jati. Right. So from varnas, caste originated. How it originated? Tell me how. So here there is a fourfold classification of the society. So this classification was actually justified religiously. So it is stated that God made like this. When anyone says that God made like this, people are more likely to accept it. They don't question it. And from this system, they started a hierarchy. Slowly, it turned into a hierarchy. What is hierarchy? Hierarchy means different levels ante different levels ante topmost. Basically, you are assigning status, high status, low status. So basically, this is just a division of labor. It is a division of labor, yes or no? You are dividing who should do what. This is just a division of labor with religious sanctity so that people will accept it. And eventually it turned into a hierarchy where you are stating one group as higher and the other group as lower. So this is how caste system originated. Caste system originated with occupational classification. Occupational classification. Like we have different people performing different economic activities, different occupations, right? So eventually what happened? They started forming group. These groups became hereditary. Hereditary ante? For several, see, you become the member of this group not because of your merit, because of your birth in that group, right? Because you are born in that group, you become a member of that group. Slowly, they started marrying among themselves, marriage among themselves. So it became a closed group, it became a rigid group, and slowly what happened? Occupation. Occupations also became hereditary. Suppose if the father is doing one work, the son also has to do the same work. Now he doesn't have any alternatives. Father is doctor, son should be a doctor. Grandson should be a doctor. Great-grandson should be a doctor. If father is a weaver, same, it continues. So here, there is no occupational mobility. You don't have a choice. And they started marrying among themselves. This is how a caste group is born. Different caste groups are born from occupational division. It started with the occupation. Now a group of people are doing a specific task. So this group of people in the next generation also, they will marry among themselves. They are not entertaining outsiders. They are marrying among themselves, and children born to that group also have to follow the same occupation, and this has been happening over 30, 40, 50, 60 generations. Eventually a caste group is formed. Several caste groups are formed, and all these caste groups are of same. They are doing different activities. Now here we are adding ranking to these groups. In the society there are different groups. Suppose in the class there are different students. Now if I say that you are the best student and you are the worst student, I am ranking. I am giving you a hierarchy. You are the best because you got a good score. You are worst because you did not even attempt the exam. So here what am I doing? You exist, but here I add value. I add ranking. So I say that one caste, I am giving one caste a good status, a higher status, and the other caste a lower status. So this status ranking is associated with, on what basis I am giving this status ranking? What is the basis for ranking a caste? Which one? Work. Yeah, everyone are doing their work. How do you say that one work is less and one work is high? What is that criteria? What is the principle based on which I'm assigning the status to a caste? You belong to high caste, you belong to low caste. Based on, you know this. Purity and pollution. Based on purity and pollution. Occupations which are pure are given higher status, and occupations which are polluting, dirty, are given lower status. So what are pure occupations and polluted occupations? Brahmins got the higher status because of their pure occupation. Leather workers got lower status because of chamars, because of polluted economic activity or polluted occupation. So, any activity, any occupation which is associated with the god, which is associated with hygiene, is considered as a pure occupation. Any occupation which is associated with removing the dead carcasses or associated with dead animals or removing the human waste, fecal waste, are termed as polluted occupations. And based on this principle of purity and pollution, we have classified the caste groups as higher status caste groups and lower status caste groups. Right? Now we have given the status. So, and then we have given certain features of the caste group, norms, certain rules where every caste group have to follow. What are those norms? Tell me the features of caste system in India. What are the features of caste system in India? First, we'll start with occupation. Caste is an occupational group. Whatever father's occupation, the same occupation has to be followed by the son. Right? Next. Whom you should marry even today? Intercaste or intracaste? Intracaste. Marriage within the caste group. Marriage within the caste group. Next. Next, hierarchy, status, high caste, low caste, right? And membership to this group is through. How do you get a membership to the caste group? How do you get a membership? Which caste do you belong to? Did you take the membership by paying subscription fee? Then, how did you get a membership to the caste group? How did you belong to this caste group? Why do you say that I belong to this caste? How do you belong to this caste? Because you are born into that caste. You are born to that parents who belong to that caste by birth. Membership is by birth. Can you change your caste? Can you change your caste? No, we are talking now. Can you change your caste? No, we can't change our caste. Can you change your caste status? Both are different. Can you change your caste status? Okay, we are not talking about religion. Keep it to caste system. When you are in this caste system, when you are Hindu religion, can you change your caste? Is it that easy to change your caste? Can you change it? Will the system permit that? No, you cannot change the caste. Can you change the caste status? No? Think. Two questions are different. Another religion. Within this religion, you want to stay in this religion, in Hindu religion only. Will the system permit you to change the caste? Who? Give me one example. Changing the caste or changing the religion? See, don't talk about occupation. These changes, what we are doing, whatever changes we are observing today are because of impact of modernization and globalization. Strictly, we are talking about caste system. What caste system is actually telling you? Whatever the changes, this occupational mobility, everything is happened because of globalization and modernization. That is what we will write. What changes these modernization have brought to the caste system and what is the future of caste system. Strictly, when you are in the caste system, can you change your caste? We cannot change our caste. Caste is a rigid group. Can we change our caste status? If you say yes, you have to give me the example. When you change your occupation, will your caste change? Your class will change, not your caste status. Your class will change. You will, if you earn more, you will become high class, not high caste. Class is the other criteria for a division in the society. Low class, high class depends on economics. Your class changes, right? So can your caste status change? Change? Think. We have some examples in the history. Can we change caste? No. Can we change caste status? Reservation? In reservation, what will you say? I belong to lower caste. Only then you will get a... See, here we are using caste as a tool for reservation. So you have to prove that you belong to lower caste to get reservation benefits. That you are historically disadvantageous in terms of both social sphere, educational sphere. Yes, we can change the caste status. But this is not the task of an individual. The whole caste group have to change its status. If you want to change the status, your whole caste group has to change its status. From lower status to higher status. Shivaji? Shivaji was a Shudra. Yes, Shivaji was a Shudra. And because of the warfare, he conducted all that yagas, Rajasuya Yagam, Vajpaya Yagam. He got that sanctity and he moved towards Kshatriya status. From Shudra status to Kshatriyas. I don't know what his father did, but Shivaji belongs to a Shudra caste. And to some extent, if I say all the dominant communities in Andhra Pradesh, Chaudharis, Naidus, Reddis, all belongs to Shudra caste. Really. Now they became the dominant caste. You have to look back to the history and why and how I will tell in the dedicated classes. What is the? Check anywhere in the internet. To which caste they belong to. You need not know dedicated source. And then read M.N. Srinivas, Caste in India. Caste. Indian Villages. I'll tell you the full name of the book. So it's actually M.N. Srinivas' book. You have to read this much. That's what I'm telling you. Either read reference book or directly search in the Google. So I'm telling you, see, how this caste mobility, how entire caste was able to change its status, we'll discuss in the dedicated chapters. There are several methods used by lower caste people to collectively raise their status. Like as I said, the Reddy and Kamma community. Right? Right. And right. We are looking at the features. Yes.
In the previous history, what is the status of Reddies? What they do?
History textbook lo doruktayi em chestunaru ani. We are not here to discuss history. We see మనకి ఎంత వరకు కావాలో అంతే ఫోకస్ చేస్తాం. వాళ్ళ బయోడేటా మనకు అవసరం లేదు. In the past they belonged to Shudra community and they did something which elevated their status. What did they do? We'll discuss in the dedicated chapter. That's it. అంతకు ముందు వాళ్ళు ఏం చేశారు అనేది ఇట్స్ ఇమ్మెటీరియల్ టు us. Curiosity kills the monkey. You know this proverb? So rest of the background work you have to do to satisfy your thirst for knowledge. Chalo. One thing is occupation, marriage, membership, any other? Food. There are restrictions in food. What type of food you have to take? Like Brahmins, they have to consume vegetarian food only, right? And there are also restrictions on social interactions. You should not eat food cooked by lower caste, or you should not eat with lower caste. So there are certain rules, and there are certain social disabilities associated with the caste system, like certain section of people are denied entry into temples, and they're denied access to public resources like public wells. You cannot drink water from public wells, right? And certain caste groups are barred from owning land and ornaments, gold. So there are different social disabilities imposed on different social groups. So my question is, why people accepted all these restrictions? Will you accept? If I say that sit down here and write, when everyone is sitting on the benches, why people accepted then? Why? Fear? What is that fear? Why should you follow these norms? What happens if you don't follow these norms? What happens if you don't follow these norms? Who will enforce these norms? Do we have police? Army? Who will enforce these norms? Caste panchayats. Every caste will have its own self-governing body called caste panchayat, which will ensure that the members of the caste will follow these rules strictly. Even then, what is the rationale behind this caste system? It is not egalitarian, it is unjust. So what is the rationale behind such a system to survive all these years? Even today we are following it. Of course, there are certain changes. It is not strictly followed. Tell me, why people accepted in the first place? Because when the caste system was conceived, it is conceived as a method of organic solidarity. It is seen as a mechanism for social control. What is organic solidarity? We have a landowning caste. This person, one caste will own the land in the villages. Just imagine the villages. There is one person who holds large tracts of land, and thus that person will be engaged in agriculture and trade activities. Very wealthy person. And for this person, other caste people will provide the services like barber, washerman, the one who cuts the nails, who weaves the basket weaver, etc. So all these people, they are providing their services. So what does these people get in return? They get some grains, right? So here there is no cash transfer when the system was conceived. So they get something they want in return. So here there is a patron and client relationship. Equal relationship. Say, I'll provide you the service, you give me the something in kind, in exchange. So this is a relationship, and this is how a solidarity is maintained. And whenever this person is in crisis or in adversity, then he used to go to this person for help, and he used to help him whenever there is a adversity or crisis in his life. So here there is a paternal relationship. Now this person is seen as a father, right? So eventually what happened? This is stable system. Eventually what happened? This became exploitative. They started extracting more from the service caste, and they are not paying, or they are paying less, and they started consolidating power. Who controls money? Controls, have power. They can control the mind and opinion. Right now this person started strengthening his position, consolidating his power, wielding his power on these people. So now this system became exploitative and unjust. But still people are not coming out of this system. Why? Hangover? One reason, practicing across several generations, and there is no alternative to this system. They don't find any other alternative that ensures social control. Next, there is a hope in this system. There is a hope. What is that hope? Karma. Something you might have done bad in your past life. That is the reason why you are suffering, and do some good in this life. And next, in your next birth, you will be born as a upper caste. There is a hope. So, because of that fatalism, fate, people started to continue this system. Do we have this system today? Do we have this system today strictly? We don't have this system because we have washing machine here. We have salons here. Right? We have electrical trimmers. And people are not strictly following their own caste-based occupations. Everyone are accessing to the modern education. Yes, more economic opportunities. There is mobility. People are shifting. And one more character associated with the caste system in Indian villages. This caste system is predominantly seen in villages. So here we'll study about village systems also. Village system has 3 hallmarks. How do you identify a village? 3 features that marks village system different from the urban system. One is caste. Village అనగానే గుర్తొచ్చేవి ఏంటి? You said something? Agriculture. This is agrarian society. And one more feature. Urban societies are also patriarchal. We don't see in the history, we never had matriarchal system. We had matrilineal system. We never had matriarchal system. Population. Joint family. These are the 3 hallmarks of a Indian village system. What about the caste? Caste system. How the modern institutions are influencing the caste system. Do we have caste system in its strict sense? Do we have this system? Do we have this system? Do we have caste system? Have you heard about dominant caste? It can be an upper caste or a lower caste, but a dominant caste in a region. So this dominant caste is dominant because of its number, because of its economic power, because of its political clout. It became dominant. Right? So this dominant caste wields power in the villages. And a caste became dominant because of economic reforms and political reforms. Economic reforms like Green Revolution. Right? Because of Green Revolution, all these poor farmers, they became rich and they started to lobby from outside the government, and they also entered politics and they became dominant caste. So they are influencing the policies from outside and they are making policies from inside. Heard about BSP party? Bahujan Samaj Party? This party was actually, it's a collaboration, it's a collective of all the lower caste. All the lower caste, they came together and in the name of Bahujan, they started propagandizing and they started contesting elections. Right? Next. What is the future of caste system in India? Is caste dying? Is caste dying? No. You told me all that features are vanishing. See, in villages, we used to have settlement patterns. Like the higher caste groups, they will live in the center of the village, and the low caste, they will live at the periphery, outskirts of the village. They are not allowed to enter the village. They have to live outside. They will have their separate wells, separate fields, everything. But these settlement patterns, Do we find the same settlement pattern in urban areas? Where lower castes are living away, very far from the higher caste? Your neighbor may belong to a lower caste, but you don't bother about that. When you're taking food, you don't ask the caste of the person. Right? So, caste system is dying because features of the caste system are declining. Yes or no? All these features, that marriage is, even the marriage restrictions are also being diluted. There is a rise in intercaste marriages. Right? So, features are declining. So, can I say that the caste system is dying? Tell me. Is caste system dying? Okay, I'll discuss in the class. Yes or no? Right. Now look at the village caste system. Joint family. Do we have a strict joint family structures in the villages? What is a joint family? Right. So we have parents, children living together, and married children with their children are living at least 3 to 4 generations, where you have a common kitchen, common property, right? Common worship place, and family is the unit of economic unit, right? It provides labor for agriculture because in villages, agriculture is the predominant occupation. Now, is joint family system declining? There is a study which states that joint family system is increasing in urban areas. Why and how we will discuss. This is just a trailer, okay? If I say everything now, there will not be left anything, right? You know why Bahubali 2 became a blockbuster? Because there is a suspense at the end of Bahubali 1. Because of that, right? I want you to keep guessing and thinking as why such a criteria happen, right? See, this is nothing new. We are not learning any new concepts. We are learning about our society. That's it. How our society was in the past and why is it in the present in this way. So, what factors are influencing it? That's it. With some examples and case studies, and you have to connect with current affairs in this section, like reports, NFHS surveys, right? So this is Indian society, caste, villages, and traditional structures. Next we go for tribals. Tribe. What do you mean by a tribe? Tribe ante? Tribe. Tribe. Which people? Forest people. Okay. Any add-ons?
Isolated.
Isolated. Okay. పర్లేదు తప్పైనా indigenous people. You mean native people? Okay. Indigenous people. Any add-ons? Everyone will have a different culture, right? For every 10 kilometers in India, culture changes, it seems. Okay. Scheduled tribe. Define. Polity అయిపోయింది కదా. According to the Constitution of India, what is the definition of scheduled tribe? Absent on that day, right? According to Constitution. What are the criteria? Who are the certain groups according to the Constitution? What is the definition of a scheduled tribe according to the constitution? వినిపించలేదు. ఏంటి చెప్పు? ఎకనామికలీ బ్యాక్వర్డ్. రైట్. ఇంకా పృథ్వీ, డిసప్పాయింట్ చేసిన పృథ్వీ. Define. Who is a PVTG? Heard about primitive tribal groups? Then particularly vulnerable tribal groups? PVTG. Okay, PTGs are renamed as PVTGs. According to the Constitution of India, PVTGs are defined as old people are vulnerable, disabled people also vulnerable, criminal tribes. Criminal tribes అనగానే ఎవరైనా గుర్తొస్తున్నారా? Settlers? Criminal tribes are. Because they kill any outsider, they'll kill. Because they are aboriginals. They will not allow outsiders. Who are criminal tribes? Who said? Goans? Chenchus? Denotified tribes. Who are denotified tribes? PVTGs? ఏదో డిఫరెన్స్ ఉంటుంటుంది కదా, రెండు చెప్పారంటే, రెండు టర్మ్స్ ఉన్నాయంటే. రైట్. ట్రైబ్. వాట్ ఈస్ ద డెఫినేషన్ ఆఫ్ అ ట్రైబ్? A community which is living in an isolated area. Yes, they have common area, they have common culture, they have common customs, marriage practices, and a common name. Right. So tribe is a colonial construct. When they are going for census, they called a community as a tribe based on certain criteria, like they are living isolatedly and they are economically backward. They use primitive technologies. So after independence, the Constitution of India has recognized certain groups as scheduled tribes. According to Constitution of India, there is no definition for scheduled tribe. Constitution doesn't define which community forms a scheduled tribe, but under Article 342, the President notifies certain community as scheduled tribe based on the recommendations of certain committees like Lokur Committee, Bhuria Committee, Devar Committee. Based on those committee recommendations, they follow or they classify certain communities as scheduled tribes, which are with certain characteristics. Like these characteristics or conditions are given by committees, not constitution. Like they are backward, shyness, they have shyness to meet outsiders, they have primitive traits, they are isolated, they have a unique culture. So based on these criteria, they classify certain communities as scheduled tribes, and among these scheduled tribes, PTGs, primitive tribal groups, or particularly vulnerable tribal groups, they are the most backward, most economically backward, and very primitive agricultural practices, primitive tools, right? So they are part of STs. And then we have criminal tribes. Criminal tribes is a colonial construct again. Here we have a Criminal Tribes Act passed by the British. So according to them, they believe that the entire community of a tribe is criminal. So whoever born in that community, they are prone to criminal activities. They call the entire tribe, they label the entire tribe as a criminal tribe. And they started restricting the movement of these tribes, mass surveillance, right? So after independence, 1952, this Criminal Tribes Act was repealed by the government and it was replaced by Habitual Offenders Act. So the government is now targeting at individual offenders, not as a whole community as offenders, right? So who all the tribal groups which are listed in these criminal tribes were denotified, and hence these tribes are called denotified tribes. For example, whenever you listen to Stuartpuram, is famous for Stuartpuram. Vinnar eppudaina? Notorious for robbery. So there are tribes in the Stuartpuram who are notorious for robbery. Even today they face the social stigma. So they were considered as criminal tribes and they were harassed by the officials. Even today they have that social stigma and even today police harass them. So we brought a law, but people don't know about the law. They only know about criminal tribes. So these are the differences in the types of tribes. Understood? So what are the problems of tribes? What are the problems of tribes? Tell me some problems. What are the problems that tribals are facing in India? Development. Development లేదా లేకపోతే మన డెవలప్మెంట్ వల్ల వాళ్ళకి ఇబ్బందులు అవుతున్నాయా? See, what is your meaning of development? It is not development for them. Development అంటే ఏంటి నీ దృష్టిలో? What is development according to you? That tell. Example, specific example ఒకటి చెప్పు. Development అంటే school education. Why do they need education? For
knowledge.
Why knowledge? What will they do with the knowledge? They will ask you the same questions. What do they do with the knowledge? Things means job, earning money. Tell me specific example. Example తో చెప్పు. Knowledge ఎందుకు? దేని గురించి? To example, specific example.
When they facing problems like
Food shortage. What is the source of food for them?
forest.
Nature, right? They depend on nature, right? So,
When they
example చెప్పు. Food example. Fruits. No fruits. No animals. అప్పుడు ఇది ఫారెస్ట్ అవ్వదు కదా, ఫ్రూట్స్ యానిమల్స్ లేకుండా. ఎంతమంది పాపులేషన్ ఉంటారో తెలుసా ట్రైబల్స్? అండ్ యు నో దే హ్యావ్ ద ట్రెడిషనల్ నాలెడ్జ్. దే ఆర్ లివింగ్ ఇన్ దట్ ఫారెస్ట్ ఫర్ సెంచురీస్. They have the indigenous knowledge system. They know what to do when a problem comes. Even they have the solution for cancer also. So tell me, what is the purpose of development? What is development for them? Power, electricity. They don't need electricity. They don't need bridge. They have water. They have food. And that indigenous knowledge system which is helping them to survive is being transmitted from elders to them. They have their own community teaching centers where elders teach them their knowledge, their culture. Tell me, what else they want? Do they want minerals? Do they want gold ornaments? No. They don't have aspirations. They don't want to rule the world. They don't want to rule the country. They want to live. For them, relationships matters to them. For agriculture, For health, we are disturbing their health actually. They have their remedy for everything. Everything is found in the forest. Problem in the forest, remedy in the forest. Forest is everything to them. How COVID is entering the tribal areas? Connectivity. See, there are several severe problems happened because of virus. See, this even whatever you're talking, COVID-19, that was man-made. It entered from the mainstream to there because of increased accessibility, increased connection. When there is no connection, when no one enters from the mainland to the tribal area or from tribal area to the mainland, there is no spread of this disease. No need. So that is a reason why the tribals are killing outsiders, sentinels. They fear that if outsiders come, they bring some problem. Then, what is development to them? What is development to us is not development to them. They have the most sustainable and harmonious relationship with nature. If you don't disturb them, they can live peacefully. What are the problems the tribals are facing today? Because of the increased culture contact. Now they are not living in isolated regions. See, after independence, we have different approaches towards tribal development. Either we have to go for integrational approach or isolation approach. Isolation means completely leave them. So it's like national parks. They are living like national parks. How you don't enter national park, in the same way, we have a policy where we don't want to enter into the tribal areas and we don't want to disturb. But these people also need education, health facilities. So that is the reason why the government started entering into the tribal areas by building infrastructure and improving the accessibility to tribal areas. So with the roads, so when you open the windows, along with the air, dust also comes. So problems also increased in tribal areas with the advent of outsiders into tribal areas. First, moneylenders came, roads were constructed, along with the roads, moneylenders came. So what they did? They started lending more money, indebtedness. Tribals are facing indebtedness, now they cannot pay back. So as a result, they started giving away their lands. Yes, debt trap. Next came the officials, they disturbed the harmony of the tribal regions. Tribals, they have like political systems, traditional political systems. So we entered democracy into these political systems. Now there is a clash between the traditional structures and modern structures. Whether they have to listen to the traditional leaders or modern administrative officials. Several acts started, Forest Rights Act, right? Indian Forest Act 1927. So different people have come, different people have started administration. Tribals also protested in the past. There are changes in the tribal administration. There are revolts in the tribal areas for autonomy, complete autonomy. Like Nagaland, Naga insurgency is happening they are demanding separate country. They don't want to stay within India. Nagalim, right? And there are certain tribals who are fighting for limited resources like Kukis and Métis. They are fighting for limited resources. So there are different types of ethnic revolts that we will see in this process. And recently pseudo-tribalism have become more famous. Pseudo-tribalism. Pseudo means false. So people who do not have any tribal origins, who are not traditional forest dwellers, they started to claim they are demanding ST status to gain profits. Why they are demanding ST status? Because they have same name. Caste group will have the name and tribal group will also have the same name. Then the caste group, because we have the same name, we also belong to the tribal, so give us ST status. This is what they demand. For example, Kammara community. We have tribes, Kammara tribes and Kammara caste. They are traditional blacksmiths. They are tribes in Odisha. They are recognized as STs in Odisha. So that is the reason why this Kammara caste, because we have the same name, give us ST status. This is a demand. Pseudo-tribalism. Although they don't have any tribal origin, tribal background, they claim to be tribals based on similar nomenclature. Right. What are different problems of tribes? Briefly, land alienation. Their land is being stripped in the name of developmental projects. Right? Land alienation, health issues. They have several disabilities, like sometimes they are susceptible to animal attacks, snake bites, and they are into more drinking, alcoholic abuse, right? And because of inbreeding, marrying among themselves, genetic disorders are increasing, and because of pollution in the mining sites, groundwater, surface water is being polluted, and consuming that, it is giving several disorders to them. So they have health problems, education, low literacy levels. So because of land alienation, they have to move to the urban centers or different rehabilitation centers. Now they don't have any skill. So where will they work? They have to work as an unorganized sector, as a domestic labor or in construction sites, right? Where they are exploited, they are harassed, they are prone to human trafficking, they are into begging, and crimes against them is increasing. They are into organ trafficking also. Right, there are several problems faced by these tribals, right? Health, education, employment. They don't have enough employment opportunities because of low literacy and low skill, and poverty, indebtedness. These are the problems that is plaguing the tribal society. We'll discuss in detail why and how with case studies. Right? So this is paper 2. Done? So we have completed paper 1 and paper 2. How do you feel? Blank? Tell me, which is more interesting, paper 1 or paper 2? Paper 2? That is the reason why you have to work more for paper 2. There is very less I have to teach. Paper 1? What about paper 1? What is your opinion about paper 1? Easy? It is theoretical basically. Paper 2 is all about application oriented. Paper 1 is theoretical, and I have more work for paper 1 to make you understand the concepts. And how you apply these concepts is your analytical ability. If you apply that you have to connect paper 1 and paper 2. The concepts which you study in paper 1, you have to apply in paper 2. Only then you can score good marks, 300 plus marks. Scoring 300 plus is easy, provided you have to do your own task, right? In an intellectual way, you have to connect. You can connect only when you can understand each and every concept in paper 1 and paper 2. When you have in-depth knowledge. That comes with regularly reading it, revising it, which is very hard than listening. Kada? Sticking to the schedule, revising, and trying to connect the dots. That depends on your intelligence. మీ ఇంటెలిజెన్స్, మీ స్మార్ట్నెస్ ఇక్కడ చూపించాలి. డిఫరెంట్ టాపిక్స్ ని ఎలా ఇంటర్రిలేట్ చేస్తాం, ఎలా కనెక్ట్ చేస్తాం, ఎలా కోరిలేట్ చేస్తాం అనే దాంట్లో. రైట్? ఎనీ క్వశ్చన్స్? Any questions? Thank you.